As the founders of Living Well Solutions, Patrick and his wife Winnie have made it their mission to see an end to cancer, chronic illness, and mental health impacts across Canada by introducing a holistic healthcare system to workplaces. To achieve their vision, they are connecting wellness providers, workplaces, and insurance benefits that provide funding for all types of holistic wellness modalities, whether they address body, mind, or soul. Ultimately, their goal is to help families lead healthier and happier lives, help workplaces realize the profitability of wellness, and empower true healthcare over sick care for a better future. Patrick, I'm excited to chat with you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Marcy. Awesome to be here.
So, Patrick, we're going to get right into it. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you discovered holistic health. It wasn't always necessarily, something that you were involved with or something that you knew a lot about. How did you come upon these alternative modalities?
Yeah, I would say it really started back, I don't remember the exact year, it was 2014 or 2015. We had some pretty bad forest fires here in BC, and it was so severe that the smoke traveled away from the interior to the coast of BC, where we're here at Metro Vancouver. And I was exercising, I was running, doing dragon boat, doing canoeing, trying to stay healthy. And I think I got a little too much exposure to that smoke. And eventually I developed a chronic cough. And it kept going and going. And eventually after a month, my wife told me, maybe you should go see a doctor about it. So I went to a clinic, and the doctor asked me a few questions, and including if I ever had asthma. And I said, no, I've never had asthma. He looked puzzled, and he said he didn't know what it was, but he gave me an inhaler and said, let's try this anyways and come back in a couple of weeks. So after a couple of weeks, nothing changed. My cough was still as bad as ever. And I went back to him, and he said, you know what, I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm gonna give you a stronger dose. And at that point, I'm thinking, you don't know what's wrong with me. You don't know how to help me. But yet you're just gonna try and experiment. And it's my body. I don't know what this is gonna do to me long term. So I said, forget it. I'm not taking this. And my wife actually helped me out with this. She went and did some research and said, maybe we should try essential oils. So we got a diffuser, and we start with lavender and then tea tree oil. And when that didn't work, we used this other essential oil, this Chinese white flower oil. And actually, to my amazement, after a couple of weeks, my cough completely cleared up. And after that, I had to learn more. So my wife and I started on this journey of just learning everything we could about holistic wellness.
Wonderful. I mean, there's so much irony in the fact that you were doing things to stay healthy and developed a cough.
Yeah.
Right. But then the beauty of it is there's so many people who have experienced something similar on their journeys where they've, come into some kind of illness and it either can't be figured out or there isn't a solution. So using those essential oils kind of they not only changed your health, but how did that start to change your perspective or your perception about alternative therapies and different modalities?
Yeah, I mean, I come from an engineering background, so my mind always focused on, what can be proven, what's scientific. But learning about holistic or alternative modalities really opened up my eyes. And, I started to realize that there's so much out there that we don't have an explanation for, that just beyond our comprehension at this point. And I started to really just kind of just really embrace that. I went down the rabbit hole.
Right. And what did that rabbit hole look like for you? I mean, what are some of the highlights, I guess, of what you found when you started doing this exploration and looking into these things?
Yeah. So, I mean, it started with the physical. So learning about how what holistic really means, having how your gut health affects your immunity or your mental health. And then more recently, I started learning about energy work, about I really have to thank Deanne Riando, who I consider a spiritual mentor, and she really catalyzed my spiritual journey. And I started learning about, what, to me, what life is about, and how we're energetic beings having a human journey through various lifetimes.
Right. So why do you think it's important for people to have access to holistic healing modalities? I know that that's something that, you're passionate about and something that you strive for. Why is it important that everyone have access to it and everyone know about these incredible modalities? Why is that important to you?
To me, it's the solution to the chronic illness and mental health crises in Canada and actually worldwide, because we're so focused on the reactive medical model, and they call it healthcare, but in my mind it's sick care. And really, holistic and preventative health is really the key to all of it. With cancer rates as high as they are, with chronic illness rates as high as they are, people have no idea what to do. We put millions and millions of dollars into cancer research, into research for Alzheimer's and dementia, trying to find the cure. But really, I think what we should be focusing on is preventing it in the first place.
Incredible. I love that. So if you could wave a magic wand and you had no limitations, anything can happen, anything is possible, what would the ideal healthcare model look like to you?
It would be a model that I've heard being tested in other countries before. Essentially it's a health wallet where everyone can actually use that money to direct their own healthcare, whatever that looks like to them, and not be restricted by governments or differences in different provinces. It would be allowing someone to really be empowered to step into their own journey of health and well-being.
Incredible. I love that. And I love that there are communities, and they're like your Holistic Earth and other groups, and that are providing these solutions and these resources. Because for some of us, I'm sure, as you've experienced, and your wife too, that some of that information just wasn't readily available when you started your journey.
Absolutely, yeah. And that was one of the biggest challenges starting off my wellness journey, is because for most of us, we don't know what we don't know. So I had no idea there was this whole other world out there.
Exactly. And some of us don't know where to start, which is exactly why Wellness Warrior has been created. So I love it. So as you continue your journey, and, you talked a little bit about understanding, the energetic body, and that we're energetic beings. You're looking at learning about the Akashic records and the universal sphere. Tell us a little bit about what that experience has been like for you. What has that opened up? What have you experienced? What's happening?
Yeah, so when I had my Akashic records session, it was really eye-opening to me, not only to learn about past lives, but it was also profoundly healing in a way, because I was able to connect with my dad, who I lost so many years ago. I lost him to cancer when I was 11, and it almost seems senseless, but through the Akashic records reading, I was able to finally to understand and really come to terms with that. It was able to kind of provide that closure that I didn't even realize that I needed after all these years.
Wow.
And and then with the universal sphere, I mean, I'm continuing on that journey, learning about things like the ascension, and learning about being able to tap into a field of infinite possibilities. And that's just, I mean, I'm still a beginner at it, but it's been an amazing journey so far.
I love it. And I love the theme, you and Tracy both kind of alluded to or mentioned that it is a journey that we're still on. I think sometimes people think that we get on this wellness journey and we get from point A to point B. No, we get from point A to wherever we're going, and we continue. And I think that that's, again, really indicative of that wellness journey, because we are continuing to learn and understand and explore new things. So with that being said, what would you say so far has been the biggest win? What was there kind of an aha moment for you, or has there been a significant win on your wellness journey so far?
I would say one of the biggest wins was really learning how to become my own best health advocate. It was actually, I have to share a story of last year when we had that heat dome in BC, and I think eventually it went over to Alberta as well. But I developed this sort of I don't know how to describe it, but like sort of like a blister under my arm, and I couldn't figure out what was going on with it. And so I went to my doctor, and of course she gave me 5 minutes of her time, and actually we were still doing virtual visits, so she asked me to take photos of it and send to her, and then give her a call later. And she said she took like 5 seconds and said, you know what, it's an infection, you need some antibiotics. But the problem was, I've been trying to.
Oh dear. We lost Patrick. It looked like his internet was a bit unstable, so we'll just wait for Patrick to come back and continue his story. In the meantime, I just wanted to go look at the chat. Holly, you said we are not given the vocabulary for what our bodies actually need, and that's so very true. We don't. Again, those resources didn't exist. I know for me on my wellness journey as well, is that when I started exploring things, a lot of those things aren't readily available. Patrick's back, so we're going to turn it back over to him and continue your story.
I am so sorry. My internet's been buggy all day.
No worries.
Yeah.
So continue to tell us about, we heard that you connected with your doctor. She gave you a few seconds. What happened from there?
Yeah. So she took a few seconds, look at it, and basically told me it's an infection. You're going to need to go on some antibiotics. But the problem was that I've been trying to repair my gut health for years. I have a chronic condition related to my digestion, and I've been taking probiotics and doing acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine and trying to repair it. And I knew from everything that I've studied and learned about holistic health that taking the antibiotics would have undone everything so far. It would have basically reset me back again with all the issues. So with that knowledge, I refused the prescription, and I went back to essential oils. Actually, I went back to putting tea tree oil on the blister, and after a week it was gone. And then that to me was a huge win, because I knew that I didn't need to rely on my doctor. I didn't need to rely on the medical system to heal myself.
Right. And just like Tracy said as well, leaning into that intuition, right? Like listening to your inner voice, listening to your gut, listening to your spirit guides, or whatever messages are coming through to you, and follow those instincts, because sometimes the traditional medicine is not the best way for our healing journey.
Absolutely.
So how do you incorporate, again, this idea of body, mind, and soul, and that holistic health in your own life? How do you take care of all of those pieces?
Yeah, so I do vitamins and supplements, probiotics for my gut health. I do acupuncture regularly, and I don't do this as often as I should, but I do practice universal sphere. So it is a meditative modality that I go into, and that's what I use basically as maintenance for my holistic health.
Right. So what piece of advice would you give somebody who's getting started on their wellness journey? So, just like you had to kind of fumble through and find things, where would you tell somebody to start? What advice would you give them to get started on their journey?
The first thing I would say is to learn how to become your own best health advocate as well as how I learned. And to me, what that means is to just be curious, keep learning, keep an open mind, and find that support, find those supports out there. And I mean, I'm truly blessed to be part of Your Holistic Earth and have this amazing community of healers and support, and just the amazing energy that our community has. And to me, if you can find that, and if you can keep learning, then you're on your way.
Right. I love it. That's so very true. Is there something that you incorporate on a day-to-day basis? So is there maybe a routine or a technique or a tool that you use every day to support your wellness journey?
Every day, I just remind myself I start off the day trying to kind of develop that, kind of start off with a positive mindset and carry a growth mindset through the day. And one thing I'm still working on is just drinking enough water.
Right. Water is important. What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite quote or a favorite book? So again, thinking of, people who might be watching tonight or watching the recording, maybe there's a quote that you kind of live by or that has really motivated you, or a book that you've read that's really, some of that information has really stuck with you and again, motivated you on this wellness journey.
Yeah, in terms of a favorite quote, it's one by Charles Swindoll, and he said, "Life is 10% what you're given, and 90% what you do with it." And to me, it's profound, because it actually matches pretty closely what I've learned in terms of epigenetics, about sort of your genes versus your environment, where I've learned recently that your genes only makes up 10% of your predisposition to disease. It's actually the other 90%, which is sort of diet, lifestyle, environmental factors that can actually affect your chances of getting disease. So I found it quite interesting that the quote and what I learned match so closely together.
Yeah, that's incredible. Again, some of those synchronicities that the universe places in our paths for us.
Amazing.
Tell us a little bit more about Living Well Solutions, and what does that mean? What is it about, and what does it look like moving forward for you?
Yeah, to me, Living Well Solutions is all about providing that access to holistic healthcare. So the first part of that really is providing that awareness and hope for people out there, much like how I learned through my own journey. I want to be able to give back that awareness to people, that there are resources outside of the medical and paramedical systems, that there are solutions for virtually any health issue that you can think about, even illnesses that many people would consider incurable or lifelong. I mean, I've heard amazing stories, and I would love to share that with everyone. And then the second part of Living Well is about essentially being able to afford it now. I mean, holistic healthcare is typically not covered by any government programs or any typical insurance programs. So what we do is we use a unique insurance model through workplaces to help people afford those holistic solutions. So essentially being able to provide that access.
That's incredible, and something I think that I support and is so much needed. So Patrick, what's next for you? You've done essential oils, you've done Akashic records, the universal sphere. Do you have something that you want to look at next, another modality, or is there something that you're starting to study?
Nothing else at the moment. I'm still I still consider myself a beginner in everything that you mentioned, and I want to develop those further. And if the universe brings me something else along, then I will study and use that as well.
Beautiful. So we're going to wind up here in a couple of minutes. So if you have any questions for Patrick, feel free to put those in the chat. Patrick, is there a specific modality? I mean, I know that you've used essential oils and that's one of your go-tos, but is there any other kind of modality or even a practitioner or a person who has been the biggest influence on your wellness journey so far?
It's hard to really kind of pinpoint in any one. I've met so many incredible practitioners and people through your holistic earth and outside of it. I mean, yeah, Deanne Rando has been a huge influence for me. Melissa Dealey of Your Guided Health Journey has taught me a lot as well. Jocelyn Pettit of Edson Emotion Reset. I mean, I actually learned a lot more about energy modalities through her as well. So, and there's too many others to name, and I'm sorry if I left anyone off the list. But I actually do feel truly blessed to know so many just amazing human beings.
Absolutely, and I think that's another important piece is the wellness journey is not meant to be traveled alone. That's why we have Your Holistic Earth. That's why we have the new Wellness Warrior membership. That's why there's community for you, because this really is meant to be a supportive community to help people with that support and guidance on their wellness journeys. None of us can do this alone. As I'm sure everybody in this room and everyone watching knows, we need to do it together and we need to support one another. So absolutely, there's so many people that I think we all have to thank for that. So Teresa has a question for you, Patrick. Do you use Chinese medicine to help you manage your gut health? And if so, do you have the name of it?
I have been using Chinese herbal medicines before. I actually can't pronounce any of it. It's it's something that's been formulated by my herbalist and acupuncturist. So unfortunately, I can't give any specifics on that. It's a very sort of specialized recommendation. Every person is unique. Right, and I love that. Again, that's sometimes part of these modalities, and we've seen that even, again, that Tracy talked about, is that every client is different and every person is different and their needs on their wellness journey are different. There's not necessarily a one size fits all for anyone. And I think that's one of the important keys, again, on this wellness journey is there is a bit of trial and error, and there is a bit of, that exploration to see what's going to fit best for you. Any thoughts on that, Patrick? Yeah, and to me that's why you actually need a knowledgeable practitioner, because there's so many articles that you can Google out there saying this is your best way for health, this is your best way to lose weight, this is your best way to manage, your gut health or your depression, but really every person is truly unique, and it takes a knowledgeable practitioner to be able to recognize that and develop strategies and treatment protocols for that. Absolutely. And sometimes it is about, that's exactly, again, why we created this Wellness Wisdom event. It's about sharing those stories and what has worked for you, because it does, everybody has different symptoms, everybody has different experiences, everyone has different lifestyles. So it is about listening to other people's stories to gain insight on what did work for them and what, you might be drawn to on your wellness journey as well. Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Well, Patrick, thank you so much for being here.